Have you ever caught someone's expression change when you enter a room, but you're not quite sure why? Or noticed how conversations sometimes shift when you join in? As we journey through our golden years, we develop certain habits that feel completely natural to us, but may unintentionally create distance between us and the people we love most. I'm here today to talk about something rarely discussed, but deeply important: the subtle behaviors we develop as we age that might be pushing away family, friends, and even strangers, without us even realizing it. These aren't character flaws or personal failings. They're simply human tendencies that can emerge as we settle into the comfort of our later years, habits that others notice but rarely mention out of respect or discomfort. Today, we'll explore 12 of these patterns with compassion and honesty, not to criticize but to shine a light on blind spots we all develop. Because when we become aware of these habits, we gain the power to make small adjustments that can dramatically improve our relationships and how others experience our presence. By the end of our time together, you'll have practical steps to restore connections that may have weakened, strengthen the dignity others see in you, and help you carry yourself with the grace and wisdom you've earned through decades of living. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about becoming the best version of yourself in this beautiful chapter of life. Before we begin, if you find value in today's conversation, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the notification bell. Your support helps us continue creating content that addresses the real challenges and joys of aging with dignity. Now, let's begin our journey of self-discovery together. The first habit might seem obvious, but it's one of the most impactful: neglecting personal hygiene. As we age, our routines sometimes slip away quietly, almost unnoticed by us, yet immediately apparent to everyone else. Think about it. When you were younger, preparing yourself for the day was likely an automatic ritual. You wouldn't dream of leaving home without being freshly showered, teeth brushed, hair combed, and wearing clean clothes. But as the years pass, several factors can erode these habits. Perhaps physical limitations make showering more challenging. Maybe decreasing energy levels make daily grooming feel exhausting. Or perhaps a subtle thought begins to whisper, "Why bother?" when social engagements become less frequent. Catherine, a retired teacher I spoke with, shared something profound. "I didn't realize how much my appearance had changed until my granddaughter visited and gently asked if she could help wash my hair. I had been wearing the same sweater for days, and my hair hadn't been properly washed in over a week. I was embarrassed, but more than that, I was grateful she cared enough to say something." What Catherine experienced is common. Family members often notice these changes but hesitate to mention them, fearing they'll cause hurt feelings or embarrassment. But here's something important to understand. Personal hygiene isn't about vanity or surface appearances. It's a powerful form of self-respect and communication. When we take care to present ourselves well, we're saying to the world and to ourselves, "I still matter. I still care. I'm still engaged in life." Simple acts like wearing clean clothes, maintaining oral hygiene, regular bathing, and grooming communicate that you value yourself and, by extension, your time with others. These aren't superficial concerns. They're foundations of dignity. If physical limitations make traditional routines difficult, there are adaptations that can help. Handheld shower heads, shower chairs, dry shampoo for days when washing hair is too challenging, or breaking grooming tasks into smaller steps throughout the day, rather than all at once. The key isn't perfection, it's consistency and intention. When you make the effort to care for your appearance, people naturally draw closer, rather than creating subtle distance. Remember, the goal isn't to look decades younger or meet impossible standards. It's simply to present yourself in a way that honors who you are today, a person of value, worthy of respect and connection. We all have our favorite stories, those meaningful experiences that shaped us, made us laugh, or taught us something valuable. They're treasures of our personal history, but there's a habit that often emerges in later years that can unintentionally create distance. Repeatedly telling the same stories to the same people unaware they've heard them many times before. James, age 78, shared an insight that took him by surprise. My son finally told me after years of patience that I'd told him the story about my fishing trip in 1982 at least 20 times. I had no idea. In my mind, each telling felt like the first. This tendency to repeat stories isn't simply forgetfulness. Often it stems from the way memory works as we age. Recent memories may fade while long-ago experiences remain vivid and meaningful. These cherished memories feel fresh and worthy of sharing each time they surface. But when family members or friends begin exchanging glances, when you start a familiar tale or subtly finish your sentences, or suddenly remember urgent tasks that take them out of the room, these are gentle signals that your stories, though precious, have become overly familiar. What's the impact? Loved ones may begin shortening visits or phone calls or steering conversations to prevent triggers for familiar narratives. This creates a subtle barrier to genuine connection, as conversations become managed rather than natural. But there are simple, dignified ways to address this habit. First, consider keeping a small notebook of stories shared with different people. A quick note after visits can help track which experiences you've already recounted. Second, before launching into a memory, try asking, "Have I told you about?" This gives others the opportunity to gently redirect if needed. Balance sharing past experiences with curiosity about the present. Ask questions about others' lives. What are their current challenges? What brought them joy recently? Finally, explore new experiences that generate fresh stories. A new hobby, class, or community activity creates contemporary narratives to share alongside cherished memories. Your life experiences are valuable and worth sharing. The key is finding the balance that keeps connections vibrant rather than predictable. When we become mindful of how we share our stories, we create space for deeper, more reciprocal conversations that strengthen rather than strain our relationships. If you're finding these insights helpful so far, I'd love to know you're with me on this journey. Please take a moment to like this video and consider subscribing to our channel for more content that supports dignified, connected aging. Your engagement helps us reach others who might benefit from these conversations. Now, let's continue exploring habits that might be affecting your relationships without you realizing it. There's a phrase that's often worn as a badge of honor in later years. "I've earned the right to speak my mind." And indeed, the wisdom gained through decades of living gives your perspective unique value. But there's a fine line between honest expression and words that unintentionally push people away. Martha, who recently celebrated her 83rd birthday, shared this reflection. "I always prided myself on telling it like it is, but my daughter-in-law finally gathered the courage to tell me that my comments about her parenting were making her dread our family gatherings. I was devastated. I thought I was helping." As we age, the internal filter that once cautioned, "Maybe don't say that," can gradually fade. What feels like refreshing candor to us might land as harsh judgment to others. Comments about someone's appearance, parenting choices, career decisions, or lifestyle might be factually accurate in our perception, but emotionally jarring to receive. The response is rarely direct confrontation. Instead, people typically withdraw quietly. Shorter phone calls, less frequent visits, or conversations that stay safely on the surface to avoid triggering uncomfortable comments. This doesn't mean censoring your wisdom or experience. Rather, it's about delivering your perspective in ways that foster connection rather than distance. Before speaking, consider these simple questions. Is this observation helpful, or am I simply unburdening my own frustration? Is there a gentler way to deliver this truth? Would I want someone to speak this way to my child or grandchild? When sharing your perspective, try phrases that leave room for different viewpoints. "In my experience," or "I've found that," rather than definitive statements that close conversation. Remember that relationships thrive on mutual respect, not just honesty. When your wisdom is delivered with kindness and an awareness of others' feelings, People lean in rather than pull away. They seek your perspective because it's offered as a gift, not imposed as an absolute truth. Your life experience is invaluable. By choosing how you share it, you determine whether it becomes a bridge or a barrier to the connections that enrich your days. I'm too old to learn that computer stuff. Phones were simpler in my day. Why can't things just stay the way they were? These phrases might feel like honest expressions of frustration, but they often serve as barriers that can isolate us in a rapidly changing world. Our fourth habit is resistance to new technologies, not the reasonable caution about digital overreach, but the outright refusal to engage with tools that have become essential for connection. Robert, a 76-year-old former accountant, shared his experience. I refused to learn texting or video calls because they felt unnecessarily complicated. Then the pandemic hit, and suddenly I couldn't see my grandchildren in person. My daughter tried to set up video calls, but I kept making excuses. I eventually realized my stubbornness was costing me precious time with them. In today's world, digital communication has become a primary way families stay connected. When we refuse to learn basic technologies like texting, video calling, or photo sharing, we inadvertently place the entire burden of connection on others. Family members must make special accommodations or miss sharing everyday moments that could bring joy. This resistance often stems from legitimate feelings: fear of making mistakes, frustration with changing interfaces, or concern about privacy. These are valid concerns, but a complete rejection of new tools can unintentionally communicate that connecting with younger generations isn't worth the discomfort of learning. The good news is that embracing technology doesn't mean becoming an expert. Consider these gentle approaches. Focus on learning just one tool that brings the most connection, perhaps video calling to see grandchildren, or text messaging for quick check-ins. Ask a patient family member for a tech session focused on just one skill at a time, with written steps you can reference later. Look for classes specifically designed for seniors at local libraries or community centers, where learning happens at a comfortable pace. Remember that learning new skills at any age strengthens cognitive function. It's exercise for your brain. Most importantly, be patient with yourself. Everyone, at every age, feels frustrated with technology sometimes. The willingness to try, even with mistakes along the way, shows loved ones that you value staying connected on multiple levels. When family sees you making an effort, even imperfectly, it opens doors to deeper connection. Your attempt itself communicates love, even before you master the tool. Every generation throughout history has looked at those coming up behind them and found reason for concern. It's a pattern as old as civilization itself. The fifth habit that can create distance is frequent criticism of younger generations, what we might call the kids these days commentary. Eleanor, who recently turned 80, shared an insight that transformed her relationship with her grandchildren. I realized I was constantly comparing their lives to my youth, usually unfavorably. One day, my grandson gently asked, "Grandma, was there anything good about my generation?" It stopped me cold. I'd been so focused on differences that I was missing their strengths entirely. This habit often emerges from a place of genuine concern or nostalgia for values we hold dear. But when criticism becomes our default lens for viewing younger generations, it creates a wall between us and them. Comments about work ethic, technology use, music, clothing, or communication styles might seem like observations to us, but they land as judgment to younger ears. The impact? Younger family members become hesitant to share their lives, interests, or challenges. They filter their authentic selves around you, presenting only what they think you'll approve of. Meaningful exchange fades, replaced by surface-level interaction or avoidance. Bridging this gap doesn't require abandoning your values or perspective. It simply means approaching differences with curiosity rather than criticism. Instead of, "Kids today don't know how to work hard," consider, "I'm curious about how you approach challenges in your career." When you encounter differences that genuinely concern you, try framing your perspective as personal experience rather than universal truth. In my experience, I found that approach helpful when facing similar situations. Most importantly, balance observations about challenges with recognition of strengths. Today's young people navigate complexities previous generations never faced. They often demonstrate remarkable adaptability, technological fluency, and openness to diversity. By shifting from criticism to curiosity, you become a bridge between generations rather than a barrier. Your perspective remains valuable, perhaps even more so, because it's offered in the spirit of exchange rather than judgment. Remember, every generation faced criticism from their elders. The wisdom comes in recognizing that different doesn't always mean worse, just different, and there's much to learn in both directions across the generational divide. If you're finding these reflections helpful, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment to like this video and consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us reach more people with content that fosters understanding and connection across generations. Thank you for being part of this important conversation. Now, let's continue our exploration of habits that might be affecting your relationships. It's an unavoidable reality that as we age, our bodies require more maintenance. Doctor's appointments multiply, medications increase, and managing health becomes a significant part of daily life. Our sixth habit involves letting health concerns dominate conversations to the point where others begin to withdraw. Thomas, age 75, shared a realization that changed how he approaches social interactions. My daughter finally admitted she had started declining my calls because every conversation turned into a lengthy medical report. I was shocked. I didn't realize how much I was talking about my ailments until she gently pointed it out. This habit develops naturally. Health challenges are genuinely significant in our daily experience. Tests, treatments, symptoms, and medications occupy real mental and emotional space. Sharing these concerns can feel like updating loved ones on important matters. However, when every interaction becomes centered around health problems, it creates a dynamic where others feel more like medical confidants than family or friends. They may begin to feel helpless, overwhelmed, or simply drained by the heaviness of these exchanges. The response is rarely direct. Instead, calls might become less frequent, visits shorter, or conversations carefully steered away from open-ended questions that might lead to health discussions. This doesn't mean hiding genuine concerns or pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Your health matters, and appropriate sharing is part of authentic relationship. The key is balance and awareness of how these conversations impact others. Consider these approaches. Designate certain people and times for medical discussions. Perhaps one family member is comfortable being your health confidant, while other relationships focus on different connections. Set a mental health talk timer. Allow yourself a few minutes to update loved ones on significant developments, then intentionally shift to other topics. Balance sharing challenges with expressions of gratitude and joy. What small pleasures brightened your day? What are you looking forward to? Ask about others' lives with genuine interest. What are their current challenges, triumphs, or everyday experiences? Remember that relationships thrive on reciprocity. When conversations have room for both your experiences and theirs, both joy and challenge, both the practical and the playful, connections remain vital rather than obligatory. Your health journey matters deeply, but it's just one dimension of who you are. By sharing it thoughtfully while making space for the full spectrum of life's experiences, you invite others into genuine connection rather than medical consultation. We don't often talk about how our physical presence in shared spaces affects those around us, but it's an important aspect of how others experience us. Our seventh habit involves decreased spatial awareness, how we move through and occupy public areas. As we age, natural changes can affect our awareness of the space around us. We might move more slowly, our peripheral vision may narrow, or we might become more focused on our own stability and safety. These changes can manifest in ways that create friction in shared environments. Margaret, age 79, shared this insight. My grandson gently mentioned that I tend to stop walking suddenly in busy places without realizing people are behind me. I had no idea I was doing this. I was just taking my time, but apparently I was creating a bit of a traffic jam. Common patterns include standing in the center of grocery store aisles while contemplating purchases, walking three abreast on sidewalks, stopping abruptly in doorways or at the top of escalators, or speaking loudly in quiet settings like theaters or restaurants. These behaviors, though completely unintentional, can generate frustration in public spaces. Most people won't say anything directly. Instead, they'll navigate around you, perhaps with a sigh or a pointed glance. This isn't about rushing or apologizing for taking the time you need. Rather, it's about maintaining awareness of shared spaces as a form of consideration for others. Simple adjustments make a significant difference. When stopping to think or rest, move to the side of walkways rather than remaining in the center. In stores, position your cart to leave room for others to pass while you decide on purchases. Check behind you before slowing or stopping in walking areas. Be mindful of volume in quieter settings, particularly if hearing loss has affected your sense of how loudly you're speaking. These small considerations demonstrate that while you may move at a different pace, you remain aware of and engaged with the community around you. They reflect a dignity that commands respect, the mindfulness of someone who values both their own needs and the collective harmony of shared spaces. By maintaining spatial awareness, you navigate the world with grace, ensuring your presence enhances, rather than disrupts the environment you share with others of all ages. Independence is a core value for many of us, especially those who've spent decades managing households, careers, and families. Our eighth habit centers on the tendency to refuse assistance even when accepting help would benefit everyone involved. Richard, age 82, shared this reflection. I insisted on carrying heavy groceries despite my unsteady balance. My daughter would offer to help and I'd snap, "I can do it myself." One day I nearly fell, and she finally said, "Dad, letting me help isn't weakness, it's letting me show love." That changed my perspective entirely. This habit often stems from fear. Fear that accepting help signals decline, fear of becoming a burden, or fear that once we start receiving assistance, independence will slip away entirely. These concerns are understandable but can lead to situations that actually undermine the very independence we're trying to preserve. When we refuse appropriate help, several unintended consequences can follow. We might attempt tasks that put our safety at risk, potentially leading to injuries that reduce independence far more than accepting targeted assistance would have. Family members become anxious, hovering nearby in case something goes wrong, creating tension rather than relaxation during time together. Perhaps most significantly, refusing help deprives others of the opportunity to contribute meaningfully. Giving assistance is a way people show care and maintain balance in relationships. When all giving flows in one direction, connections become unbalanced. Finding middle ground involves distinguishing between help that preserves dignity and help that diminishes it. Consider these approaches. Accept assistance with tasks that are physically risky or extremely difficult, while maintaining control over decisions and preferences. When someone offers help, try responding with, "Thank you, that would be helpful," rather than "I don't need help." Look for ways to maintain reciprocity. Perhaps you can't carry groceries, but you can offer wisdom, stories, or simply attentive listening in return. Remember that interdependence, not absolute independence, is the natural state of human communities at every age. Even in our most productive years, we relied on others in countless ways. By accepting appropriate help graciously, you model wisdom rather than weakness. You demonstrate the strength it takes to recognize limitations while maintaining your essential dignity and agency. This balanced approach actually preserves independence longer by preventing the injuries or exhaustion that can come from overextending. The most respected elders are often those who navigate this balance with grace. knowing when to stand firm in capability and when to welcome the supporting hands that love offers. Many of us who grew up in different economic times or lived through periods of scarcity developed careful habits around money and resources. Our ninth habit involves when these valuable traits of thriftiness tip over into behaviors that create discomfort or embarrassment for those around us. Helen, age 77, shared this realization. I was so proud of saving every packet of restaurant sugar and napkin in my purse. My granddaughter finally admitted she stopped inviting me to lunch because she felt mortified when I emptied the table's condiments into my bag. I thought I was being practical. She saw it as taking things that weren't offered. This habit can manifest in various ways: collecting excessive free items from establishments, making inappropriate requests for discounts, loudly questioning prices in ways that create awkward situations for companions, or insisting on splitting restaurant bills down to the penny when others are comfortable with simpler approaches. These behaviors often stem from deeply ingrained values of resourcefulness and careful money management, qualities that served well through challenging times. But when frugality is expressed in ways that cross social boundaries, it can create distance as family or friends become reluctant to share public outings. The key distinction is between private frugality, which affects only you, and public displays that impact others' comfort or dignity. Your personal choices about reusing items at home, careful budgeting, or finding bargains are entirely your business. But when thrifty habits create uncomfortable situations for companions, they can strain relationships. Consider these balanced approaches. Practice frugality primarily in private settings and personal decisions. In public, especially when with others, consider the social context and how your actions might affect companions. If financial concerns are genuine, suggest activities that fit your budget rather than creating tension during outings. Remember that relationships sometimes represent the best investment of all. Occasional flexibility around money in social settings may yield rich returns in connection. None of this means abandoning wise financial practices. Rather, it's about recognizing when the social cost of certain behaviors outweighs the material savings they provide. By finding this balance, you maintain the admirable quality of careful resource management while ensuring it doesn't inadvertently become a barrier to the relationships that enrich your life beyond any financial measure. We're exploring important territory together today. If you're finding these insights valuable, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the notification bell so you don't miss future content designed to enhance life's later chapters. Your support makes these conversations possible. Now, let's continue with our final 3 habits that might be affecting your relationships. The world changes rapidly. Social norms evolve, new information emerges, and perspectives shift. Our 10th habit involves rigidly clinging to views that may have been commonplace decades ago but now create distance between generations. Edward, age 81, shared this powerful insight. I kept insisting certain careers weren't appropriate for my granddaughter based on ideas from my era. One day, she simply stopped sharing her ambitions with me. It took me too long to realize I was using an outdated map to navigate her modern world. This habit often manifests in fixed statements that leave no room for discussion. That's just wrong, period. In my day, we knew better. That's not how things are supposed to be. These declarations, rather than opening conversation, effectively close it. The impact can be profound. Family members, especially younger generations, may simply remove certain topics from conversation entirely. They share less of their authentic lives, creating surface-level interactions where deeper connection might have flourished. What makes this habit particularly challenging is that it often touches on deeply held values or beliefs that feel fundamental to our identity and understanding of the world. The suggestion that these views might need reconsideration can feel threatening rather than enlightening. Yet the most respected elders throughout history have been those who maintain core principles while demonstrating the flexibility to reconsider specific applications as the world evolved. This balance requires distinguishing between foundational values, like kindness, justice, or integrity, and their specific expressions, which may change across eras. Consider these approaches to maintaining connection across differing viewpoints. Practice phrases that acknowledge different perspectives. I see it differently, but I'm interested in understanding your view, or that's new to me. Can you help me understand how you came to that conclusion? Distinguish between conversations where you're offering guidance, when asked, and those where you're simply trying to understand another's experience. Remember that listening isn't the same as agreeing. You can deeply hear someone while maintaining your own perspective. Look for underlying shared values, even when specific expressions differ between generations. This openness doesn't require abandoning core principles. Rather, it demonstrates the true wisdom of recognizing that our understanding is always partial and evolving. By approaching differences with curiosity rather than judgment, you create relationships where genuine exchange can flourish. Your life experience remains invaluable. When shared with openness rather than rigidity, it becomes a gift others eagerly receive rather than a burden they quietly avoid. There's a delicate balance between acknowledging genuine needs and cultivating unnecessary dependence. Our 11th habit involves defaulting to helplessness in situations where capability remains, a pattern that can strain relationships and diminish dignity. Alice, age 74, shared this realization. I found myself saying, "I can't figure out this phone," every time I needed to make a call. My son would sigh and do it for me. One day he gently asked, "Mom, we've shown you this same function 10 times. Are you even trying to remember?" It was a wake-up call that I was choosing convenience over capability. This habit can emerge gradually and unconsciously. Perhaps it begins with genuine difficulty learning a new technology or process. After several failed attempts, it becomes easier to say, "I just can't do this," and rely on others. Over time, this approach can extend to tasks we're actually capable of mastering with some persistence. Common phrases might include, "I don't understand any of this new technology. You'll have to do this for me," or "I'm too old to learn that," often without genuine attempts to try first. The impact on relationships can be significant. Family members may feel like they've become permanent technical support or personal assistants, rather than sons, daughters, or grandchildren enjoying quality time. The relationship balance shifts from mutuality to dependency in areas where independence could be maintained. This doesn't mean struggling with truly difficult tasks or pretending abilities are unchanged. It's about distinguishing between actual limitations and those we've adopted prematurely out of convenience or fear of failure. Consider these balanced approaches. Try before asking. Make a genuine effort to remember processes or solve problems independently at first. When seeking help, ask to be taught rather than for the task to be done for you. "Can you show me again how to do this?" Opens different opportunities than, "Can you just do this for me?" Break complex tasks into smaller steps that feel more manageable. Celebrate small victories in maintaining capabilities. They represent important preservation of independence. Remember that learning new skills at any age is excellent exercise for the brain, potentially helping maintain cognitive function. By approaching challenges with effort, rather than immediate surrender, you maintain dignity and agency. You demonstrate resilience that inspires respect, rather than dependency that can lead to resentment. This balance allows relationships to remain reciprocal and rewarding, rather than sliding into caretaking dynamics prematurely. Your capabilities may change with age, but the determination to engage fully with life's tasks, modified as needed but not abandoned unnecessarily, reflects a strength of character that others deeply admire. Our final habit might be the most subtle, yet impactful of all: the tendency to position our perspectives as definitive and beyond questioning. This habit involves phrases like, "Trust me, I know," "That's not how it works," or "I've been around long enough to know better," delivered with a certainty that leaves no room for other viewpoints. William, age 85, shared this powerful insight. I prided myself on being the family authority on everything from politics to plumbing. It took my wife of 60 years telling me no one asks your opinion anymore because you never truly listened to theirs to realize what I'd been doing. This habit often develops gradually as we accumulate decades of experience and knowledge. We've seen patterns repeat, made observations over time, and developed well-earned wisdom. These insights are genuinely valuable, but when delivered as absolute truth rather than personal perspective, they can stifle rather than enrich conversation. The impact on relationships is profound, but often invisible. Others don't usually challenge this approach directly. Instead, they simply stop engaging on substantive topics. Conversations become superficial, avoiding areas where disagreement might arise. Family members might exchange glances when you begin speaking definitively, or subtly change the subject. Over time, opportunities for meaningful exchange diminish, as others protect themselves from what feels like judgment rather than dialogue. The antidote isn't diminishing your experience or insights, it's sharing them in ways that invite connection rather than compliance. Consider these approaches. Present your perspective as one viewpoint rather than the only valid one. In my experience or from what I've observed, show genuine curiosity about differing views. I see it differently. Help me understand your perspective. Acknowledge when your understanding might be limited or outdated. That area has probably changed significantly since my time. Recognize the difference between factual corrections, which can be helpful, and matters of opinion or approach, where multiple valid views exist. True wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about maintaining the humility to recognize that our understanding is always evolving. The most respected elders are often those who balance confidence in their experience with openness to new insights. By holding your perspectives with both conviction and humility, you create space for authentic exchange. Your wisdom becomes a gift freely offered rather than a judgment imposed. This approach that transforms how others receive your insights. They lean in with interest rather than pulling back in resistance. We've explored 12 habits that can unintentionally create distance between ourselves and those we care about most. These patterns aren't character flaws or personal failings. They're simply human tendencies that can emerge as we navigate life's later chapters. The journey we've taken today isn't about criticism. It's about awareness, because awareness is the first step toward choice, and choice is the foundation of dignity at every age. The truth is, aging brings both challenges and profound gifts. The wisdom, perspective, and experience you've gathered through decades of living are treasures our world desperately needs. When shared with both confidence and humility, your insights can bridge generations, heal divisions, and offer guidance that no other source can provide. The small adjustments we've discussed today aren't about changing who you are fundamentally. They're about removing barriers that might be preventing others from experiencing the full measure of your gifts. I invite you to reflect on our conversation. Which habits resonated with your experience? What small change might you consider implementing in the coming days? Remember that transformation doesn't require dramatic overhauls. Often, it's the smallest adjustments that create the most significant shifts in how we're received by others. Your presence in the lives of those around you is irreplaceable. By bringing mindfulness to these subtle habits, you create space for connections to deepen, for your wisdom to be truly heard, and for your later years to be characterized by meaningful engagement rather than unintended isolation. If today's conversation has been valuable to you, please consider subscribing to our channel and sharing this video with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us continue creating content that addresses the real challenges and opportunities of aging with dignity. Thank you for your time and attention today. Until next time, remember that every stage of life brings its own beauty and purpose. Your chapter now can be one of your most connected, respected, and impactful. And it begins with these small but powerful choices in how you show up in the world. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. What habit did you find most insightful? Share in the comments below and join us next week as we explore a next video topic. Thank you for watching.